One of the bigger questions within every organization is who should lead the digital transformation? Should the brand invest in building a team from scratch which learns, experiments, fails, and then learn, or should they depend on an external agency to do that? To get all the answers, we have our next fireside chat on should marketing automation be outsourced to a consulting or agency partner? I would like to invite editor ET Brand Equity, Prasad Sangameshwaran, to moderate the conversation. Over to you, Prasad.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a pleasure to be a part of this panel with distinguished guests. The topic that we're going to address today is that should marketing automation be outsourced to agencies or should companies build them in-house? One of the bigger questions which every organization is kind of debating internally as well as consulting external partners is that should the digital transformation journey happen entirely in-house, or what parts of it can we outsource, or can we outsource the whole part? Debating this, or probably adding more layers to this discussion today, are two distinguished gentlemen. Nikhil Rastogi, the marketing director and e-commerce business head at Dyson, and along with him is Ashish Tiwari, the chief marketing and digital officer at Future Generali India Life Insurance. Today, we intend to kind of touch upon the topics of what are the benefits of building an internal transformation team. Are brands ready to invest that cost? And more importantly, stay invested in this exercise. What are the benefits of working with external stakeholders? And in any case, how are brands taking marketing automation to the next level? Ashish and Nikhil, may I request both of you to give a quick introduction about yourself and start with opening remarks?
Yeah, thanks, Prasad. Thanks for having me here. Hi, good evening, everybody. Prasad, marketing, the question of should marketing automation or digital transformation be outsourced or should be kept in-house is something akin to somebody asking in 1950s about should the consumer management be outsourced or kept in-house. I'm a production organization. I'm producing a cloth merchant asking should I outsource my consumer experience bit or should I keep, or a tailor asking should I keep the measurement unit in-house or a sewing unit in-house, and should I just keep a shop front? To me, that's the kind of a question which we are dwelling on to. I mean, there are two very, very differentiated parts to marketing automation. One is a tech stack, which enables your automation. And second is the user experiences and user stories, what you align onto it. I'm sure, I'm not propagating that everybody should start building technology in-house, okay? But I don't know whether I would like my baby to be fed by anybody else, and would they be feeding the baby the way I want? Because of one thing, and I mentioned this point, digital transformation or marketing automation is a starting point. Till date, having been practicing it day and night, I haven't found an end point to it. And if somebody can find out that this is my end point where my digital transformation ends, and this is my marketing where my marketing automation ends, I would be very happy. And if it's a continuous journey, which means you need to improve onto it day in, day out. If you are not improving, you are not doing the justice to it. And if that is what you got to do, then I think the answer is pretty simple. Okay, we will dwell upon it. We will get deeper into it. Okay, I will let Nikhil add into how he thinks about it, and then we can probably.
Yeah, good that you left things hanging, so that let's hope that he takes a contrapoint to this. Nikhil, over to you.
Hey, hi everyone, and hi, good evening, both of you. Look, I think Ashish brilliantly mentioned that marketing automation or having the desired end state of customer experience is a journey. And why it's a journey is because consumers are not the same every day. Consumers and their needs keep on evolving. and products and services have to constantly evolve to match those evolving needs, and which means there will be new journeys, which means there will be new competition, which means there will be new pain points. And what that implies on marketing automation is that there needs to be a lot more build continuously, and it's sort of a continuous improvement process or a program, so to speak, which really has no end date. This process is really never complete, because it's not a process in itself. It's the way of doing business, particularly for new age companies. And even companies in the traditional areas are finding that marketing automation is tremendously helping them boost their efforts in terms of either getting new customers or engaging better with existing customers and so on. Now, whether to do this or that, I mean, I would also leave it gray. And as we go upon, during this discussion, what I would want to probably talk about is that there are certain aspects of marketing automation which are more repetitive, and which could probably be outsourced. However, there are certain things which are very core to your customer experience and your customer journeys, which is the example that Ashish gave brilliantly, of a tailor, which is really your cut. I mean, those are to me, core competencies of an organization, and they should largely remain in-house. But we'll see what's the flow of the discussion, and go with
Perfect.
it.
And Ashish, since you started, invoking the brand custodians of the yesteryears, if I may ask you, then the ad agencies would have never had this kind of dominance over the landscape if everybody kept the baby in-house, right?
No, Prasad, there are two different things. One is about setting a narrative. Second is about executing that narrative. Okay. Tell me one ad agency, okay, or tell me one brand where they have outsourced the consumer insighting, setting the narrative, and execution the narrative have been outsourced, and they have been successful about it.
I'm sure there are many examples where people have actually trusted the agency with the baby, right? It may not be today, but I'm sure this happened in the past where agencies said that we are the ones who are holding the baby. They can't say it with as much conviction today because I think for all the reasons, and digital being certainly one of them. So
I mean, Prasad, I would have a different point of view here.
no, I'm just asking because the entire digital transformation exercise seems to be kind of being at that point in which probably this entire agency client debate was maybe half a century back.
Yeah, it was. I mean, today, if you look at one of the reasons why digital transformation is such a topic or marketing automation is such a topic, if you just let's decipher marketing automation for a moment, okay? What marketing automation is all about? To my mind, there are three very distinct parts to marketing automation, okay? One is about consumer understanding, which is what consumer journey, consumer experience, or how the consumer interaction is happening. Second is about asset understanding, at what part of a consumer journey a consumer is interacting with a core asset. And third is about response management or the communication. What should be communicated? So when a consumer is probably at X point in time, if these are the 7, 8 parts of properties of consumer, that this should be my canned response.
True.
With the digital, consumers expect the N has become one. So treat me as individual customer. And the challenge of individual customer is that it's not one customer you are dealing with. It's the consumption movement of a customer to which you have to customize your communication. If you want rightful action to come, let me simplify it very simply. Are you the? Let me ask you a question. Are you the same person on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn?
Well, nowadays we are forced to be, okay, because
If you are not forced, okay,
reasons.
yeah, if you are not forced to be, okay, my expectation from, and I'm only talking about for primarily social network, if I would have added some 5, 6 more angles, you would have realized when you are reading a news site, your expectations are very, very different. In fact, you run one of the largest content platform. I mean, does the user interact with your content similarly as he is into probably a brand equity versus some economics section? I think different. user would be different. So a brand marketer has to think accordingly, which means what you are customizing number one, to the medium. So the first part which I talked about, the data of the consumer. Now, do you let this data, is this data, one of the biggest property of data is that it is time bound mostly. It is relevant to up to a point in time. So if you don't take action at that point in time, the data might lose relevance. It is the action on time that is very important. Second, what I talked about, the overall ecosystem of communication which you are talking. Okay, and third is about execution. Execution, I mean, certainly you can take help about it, you can do that. But as far as if you are talking about consumer experience as a journey, which means you have to evolve every day. What you have done yesterday, you have to take a feedback loop from there, pick up from the journey from there and evolve next. Because of, remember one thing about humans. Humans have a very quick habit of getting into a steady state. What I mean exactly here is, what was experienced till yesterday becomes expectations today. And what is my expectation today? If you don't fulfill that, tomorrow, that's the exact reason of why I do not feel happy about. I become a detractor. So if you have used marketing automation or whatever transformation digitally you have done or brought me an experience, it was experience for yesterday. What new are you giving me today? And that's what a brand marketer has to consistently challenge himself or herself or strive towards and use these tools and techniques to keep evolving. And that is where I feel. I am not saying that everybody does a bad job, but I feel that the typical relationship which has existed till yesteryears, that whereas the agencies I would say, if you have a partner, work with them, because there's a difference between partner and agencies. Agencies are typically looking at mandated to fulfill a process. This was your brief. I followed the brief to the T. This was my outcome. I followed the process. What happened in outcome is not my job. That is what typical agency does. A partner owns the outcome. Okay. So that's where I feel the entire difference.
Okay. So you're saying that the need of the hour is for a partner who kind of owns the outcome rather than says that I only acted upon. So we are actually talking about insight, action, outcome, of which you're saying that the insight has to be controlled internally, the action and the outcome has to be external. Am I right?
I would say it can be partnered.
Okay. So partnered meaning you're just politely saying it can be external.
I would say it can be partnered.
Okay. So Nikhil, would you kind of agree with that? Or do you feel?
No, I will pick it up probably from the partnered part of the conversation. And look, like I said, I mean, there are various parts to any consumer journey, and there are different journeys. So there could be an exploration journey, there is a buying journey, there could be a return journey, there could be a referral journey, etc., etc. So there are different parts of a journey. Now, some parts of the journey, let's say asking standard questions, let's say that's part of a journey where a customer just wants to know more about the product. And here you have fantastic automation tools that can solve that. You know from your data and experience that 95, 97% times, these are the top 20, top 30 questions that are asked. And to me, that is something that can clearly get outsourced. The other thing is that, let's take a different example. Let's say you are trying to build an organization which has existed in different parts for a very long period of time. And you are now trying to standardize the entire data. You're trying to probably start from a data lake, and then you will get into more complex forms of data where finally data starts to make sense, and which is what Ashish also talked about. At this point, I think you also need a lot more expertise within the organization. And whereas you would love to do everything of your own, I mean, we gave an example of a baby, but the fact is that you should also have the expertise, the competence, and the bandwidth to be able to do that, and the talent to be able to do that. And sometimes you find that there are agency partners, and I guess you can see I've merged both these agencies and partners who have really good experience in doing that across multiple organizations. And if you use their help, and therefore it can never be a pure, outsourced decision that you outsource and forget. You really need to build your own core team that works with a partner. But the bulk of the heavy lifting then is really done by the partner team, because they really know, for example, how to structure data, how to label it properly, how to clean it, how to ensure data integrity, how to ensure privacy norms are met, etc., etc., which allows you to do a much better job than if you were to really take this on your own, because fundamentally most organizations don't have that capability. And we are only discussing, let's say, one piece of this journey. There could be an experience leg to a journey, which again is extremely complex. And let's say we're talking about a marketing experience cloud, for example, which requires you to serve different creative, different pieces of content at different moments in time in a consumer journey. Again, while it's very important that you will define what messaging and what communication you need to do, but today with the help of programmatic and with fairly intelligent AI softwares, that is again somewhere where you can use a partner quite effectively to run that entire piece for you without really compromising on the experience. And on the point of getting new experiences and consumers evolving, I think that's the job of the core team, to constantly work with the partner to enhance the customer experience, to take feedback from the detractors, to see why people are not becoming promoters, etc. And go back, like I said, it's an iterative journey. I mean, frankly, I also don't know if there is an endpoint to this entire marketing automation journey.
Perfect. On that note, since there has been a kind of a consensus that repetitive tasks can be outsourced, my question is actually, it goes back to a data that Google told us some time back, that 15% of the searches happening on Google today have never happened before. So why can't that be replicated in a company scenario where 15% of the questions asked by consumers today haven't never been asked before? In that scenario, if you've outsourced it thinking it's a repetitive task, are you in the danger of losing out on 15% of the queries?
That's exactly, Prasad, what I was saying, that when it comes to building narratives, okay, and narratives could be in any ways. I mean, you can have a narrative in AdWord, you can have a narrative in marketing automation or wherever, and consumer insighting. I mean, I don't know. At least I don't feel comfortable letting go of it. You can call me a control freak for that matter. Okay. But there's a very simple reason behind it, that if as a partner, are you and me both have the same both have the same aligned vision. If you have aligned that vision, then it does not matter whether you get salary from X or you get salary credited from Y. Then you become integrated from the team. I mean, I am not talking from a payroll perspective, that whose payroll. If at the end of the day, as a partner, you are working, you are getting paid from the money which I am paying you. Okay, somebody is just probably topping up a little bit. But there has to be a dedication towards the consumer experience, which the partner has to define. And which means, and there's a reason why one should have partners. And I am not close of the idea, because of they bring in the fresh perspective. Otherwise, you become completely bogged down with your own ideas. Your third-party partners, your outsourced partners who are kind of working with multiple brands get that fresh perspective every time. But the consumer data ownership and consumer experience ownership has to remain with the brand. Okay, and they have to keep innovating on that narrative, and they have to keep innovating on that journey, because of that is what will bring that consumer back to you again and again for storytelling. It could also be because of I belong to financial services industry, which is anyway so governed that letting go of any part seems very tough for me. So that could be probably the reason. But for me, it is very important that I am able to deliver that experience to consumer. And because of the digital experiences are so new, I mean, we are talking about the ad industry is running for years. We are talking about an experience delivery mechanism of how long? 5 years, 7 years into existence, 10 years maximum. In 10 years, it is only started to evolve at this point in time. It is so nascent that you have no clue about what all can go wrong in over a moment. I mean, just for an example, somebody outsourced the journey, okay, and this happened with me in one of my experiences. We had an outsourced journey which was being managed by a partner, and it was a bilingual journey. they created a new form. Okay, please fill your name in this field, and they just did not bother to check about the vernacular translation of it, and the vernacular translation came out as खेतों में पानी भरे यहाँ पर. Field is खेत, fill is भरे, खेतों में पानी भरे. And I mean, you can know, and it was a very, very important brand for me. And you know what would have happened suddenly in the boardroom. Okay, and is it a fear of outsourcing? No, that's not a fear of outsourcing. It's only about, and was it a bad partner? No, that was not a bad partner. It was a very good partner. I had one of the recent experiences with one of the partners, which was a very bad experience on marketing automation journey we were trying to put in. The partner put a person who was to do a UAT of sending out some messages, and the person, for whatever inadvertent error, went and did that entire action in production environment, and we suddenly have half-baked things going out to consumers, and we had to. It was good that we realized just in time, because there was a message which popped up saying that this thing is going on, and we were able to stop. Would it have happened inside the team? Probably yes, but chances are that it has never happened. So you would always say, oh, it is a partner, that's why it might be happening. And hence, I always believe that all the crucial tasks of whatever inciting and consumer experiences has to be owned by brand at this point in time, till the time you don't learn a lot more about it. And similar is about digital transformation. I mean, digital transformation is nothing but weaving of your entire business around the consumer using technology in a very, very simplistic manner. Let's kill the jargon. The marketer loves jargon, makes her ego swell. Okay, if you look at the core, what you are doing, you are creating a business proposition around your consumer. Would you tell me one business which will outsource creation of business propositions?
True. Okay. On that note, can I move to Nikhil to get his inputs on what are some good or bad examples that you've seen in this space, Nikhil? It could be your own company or something that you heard of.
Look, I mean, the whole point is that I think there's no debate about who owns the eventual customer experience. It's always the brand, or the company who's serving the customer. So there's no debate there in my mind, at least. The point I think that we started the debate on was that can marketing automation. So first of all, automating those part of marketing which are repetitive, which you think can be standardized, which you think through machine language or artificial intelligence or repetition or experience or past data, you can do faster and you can do it at scale. So things like consumer inciting, for example, is not part of marketing automation to begin with. And therefore, that's always core to any brand or a marketing team. But I gave the example of chats, and I worked with, in the past, let's say organizations like Citi and HSBC. And we used to get thousands of standardized questions. And if we were to put a team behind it, we would have needed hundreds of people. But we used fairly sophisticated bots, which had NLP processing capability. Did we goofed up on 5-7% of questions? Of course we did, because at the end of the day, it's a machine. It's not a human being behind those. But the idea was that you learned from it every time, and therefore I mentioned the iterative process. And you improve the response of the engine, and the engine also learns. The machine language response also learns over a period of time. Similarly, let's say I know brands, big banks, for example, who use social media war rooms. Which is, let's say, one example of a marketing automation. Now, again, from what I know, most brands typically use agency partners to run their social media war rooms, simply because there is tremendous amount of data, positive and negative sentiment at a given point in time, the sheer volume of traffic, and the different points of time that you have to deal with. It's simply not possible not to automate, and it's simply not possible given the scenario of pressures on headcount, ability to attract talent, that's frankly not the core job of a bank to begin with, to have or try to build this capability in-house. So should that bit be outsourced? Absolutely, yes. But should somebody from the company or a set of people be responsible for what's happening there? Keep a really strong eye, develop your controls and check processes. 100% yes. So I think we are gravitating more towards that. That the answer lies somewhere in the middle. I mean, there are things that you can outsource, and there are things that you fundamentally cannot. I mean, in Dyson, I know that, for example, because our categories are quite new, many customers really come on our website, spend time, but not necessarily buy in the first instance. So we have a fairly sophisticated retargeting engines and models that we've built. But the experience or the need really does not change over a period of time, and it's simply not possible for us to manage it in house. And therefore, A, we have automated this, and B, we have used a partner who's doing it very, very effectively for us. And fortunately, we haven't got any bad experience. But look, I mean, bad experiences can happen every time. I mean, I've myself released print ads without really checking the fine print, and it was the same mobile number of Delhi which got released in Bangalore and Chennai, etc. So there are errors that brand managers also do. That's something we just need to probably deal with and improve over a period of time through very robust checks and processes. But I'm more inclined towards automating what's not core, and simply because you can get fairly comprehensive scale and complexity and personalization by outsourcing and by using marketing automation, which you will not be able to do if you try to do everything in-house.
Perfect. And based on one point with which Ashish raised, whether he touched upon it, was that does the nature of your business dictate how much you outsource?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I have worked in financial organizations and in consumer product organizations, and obviously financial organizations, I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody is accessing their bank account or transferring sensitive data, you need to be extra cautious. But again, if you actually see, banks are some of the most automated organizations globally. And despite the sensitivity of the nature, I think it's the predictability of what you are asking. And it's the standardization of the formats and the transactions which actually allows banks to do that. So then there are layers of encryptions, then there are layers of verification, there are two-factor authentication, etc., which which allows you to sleep at night. Having said that, again, a very, very tightly controlled process, but it's all automated, and it's usually run by third-party agencies, which are with which the financial organization has fairly robust and stringent NDAs and data privacy and various sorts of legal and contractual agreements, with a very, very thorough vulnerability checks on the entire process, that it's kosher and there is no data leakage and there is no risk of any kind of a cyber attack and so on and so forth. But again, for a bank to stop banking and try to becoming a tech company, I don't think it's a really good idea. So there are you need people to be overseeing that, but I don't think that's your core job, or that's something that you need to do yourself.
Okay, but what if it is that which is going to give you the edge over the rest of your competition?
I would say it does. I mean, automation is the edge really, because automation.
No. So still, would you still go ahead and outsource? That's the question. Because
I mean, outsourcing has nothing to do with edge. See, I think we are sort of mixing the two issues. How a bank serves its customer or chooses to serve its customer just to stretch a point, or what is the value proposition that the organization has created for the customer? What are the rates they're offering? What is the bundling that they have? Is all in-house. That is product structuring. That is the core proposition management. But when they are really executing this entire program, that can definitely be automated and that can definitely be outsourced. There is no need to really control that process end to end, because at the end of the day, the most important job that a banker has is fundamentally relationship manager with the customer. So a banker rather focuses on relationship management and leaves the rest of the stuff to automation, including marketing. And typically the partners are way more agile, way more experts, way more comprehensive, and are able to add the scale, which organizations will not be able to do themselves.
Okay, just to labor upon this point a little more. Okay, if this was really that effective, why do banks end up sending loan messages to people who are actually looking at investing? Okay. Or why do you get calls from the same service provider saying,
Yeah.
do you want a credit card, when you have actually told them no 10 times in the last probably 15 days? So there is obviously a huge mismatch between, or is it the case of too many outsourcing partners
No,
not?
not really, not really. Anand. I mean, I think it's a case of banks not being able to define certain processes, and many times it's deliberate as well. I mean, your example of getting multiple loan calls, for example, is simply the contact policy that is defined by the bank. Otherwise, the call typically goes on an auto dialer, and the contact policy could be 5 times before the customer record is crossed out. And when is it that you're going to revisit? Will you revisit after 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Will you contact the customer once, twice, thrice, 5 times? So that's just one example. On the
No,
point of
but the
getting a
customer
loan message when
experience
you're
that we've
looking for
been
investment.
speaking,
Yeah, no, but
but
that
that
could be.
goes out of the window, right? The
No,
entire
that goes, but that's
issue of
that's
customer
that's
experience.
that's that's fundamentally what Ashish was saying. That's you not being able to define your customer experience correctly, or you not being able to, or your partner not being able to make different systems in a bank, for example, talk to each other. So let's say there is a loan system, and there is an investment system, and there is an insurance system. Because these have been traditionally created in silos, the same customer who's in the database of one type of system is getting calls from another type of system, because probably they're accessing the same data warehouse without really having the intelligence to find out what is the product the customer was. So it's a fault in the system architecture itself. It has nothing to do with outsourcing or not outsourcing.
So it's basically the unified view of the customer that
which
doesn't
which
exist.
probably does not exist. So I mean, it's not a question of whether you outsourced it, therefore it's not there, or you did not outsource it. In fact, most of the times it happens because you did not outsource it, and the in-house teams work as silos, and each one is doing what they think is best for the business, instead of creating a unified layer with the help of marketing automation, defining some customer contact rules, and then running the automation program on top of it, which, by the way, is brilliantly run by some large operators in this area.
Would you like to elaborate on that?
I mean, I could. I mean,
Since I gave you the negative examples, you can give me the positive ones.
no. I mean, this is. I mean, for example, let's say you start your. Let's say you're applying for a new credit card. Some a very common problem that we still face across banks. You started your application online. Okay, you left it in the middle. You pick that up in the evening through the mobile, and earlier you were on desktop. You have to enter all the information again, because simply the information has not flown into this part of the system. You go to the bank for that. I mean, they will not recognize that you filled an application online because they have not received anything. So that's again an example of things going wrong, and you have to give everything again. And then when you're asking for, let's say, an add-on card, they will again ask you for all the information again. Now, this is an example of a bad automation, but there are organizations, without naming them, who have a singular view of the customer, where all these processes are integrated, and you can start your application at one place, pick it up from the another, and all parts or all nodes are updated at a given point in time. So your credit history, your risk clearance, etc., all ports flow at different points in time in across various touch points that you have from a customer standpoint. It's the same thing that when you pick up the phone and speak to the RM, he has no clue what you had applied for, because he never got a notification in his system. Therefore he's now starting to pitch you a card where you already applied and got one. So there is a long way to go. Automation is not simple. Processes are very complex. Organizations have just started, like Ashish said, 5 to 7 years back. And therefore there is a need to work a lot more. But my simple view is that you actually need a lot more help during this stage. Therefore, you need a lot more competent partners instead of trying to do it yourself, because most of the cases, in my experience, this capability does not exist within the organizations, at least all types of capabilities.
Nikhil raised a very interesting question on this, that it's not necessarily that when you outsource, it's that different parts do not talk to each other. Such things even happen within the organization when everything is in-source, but still there are silos. Ashish, would you say that this happens because of probably the insecurity among the CTOs and the CDOs that we can't let different parts of organizations talk to each other?
Prasad, I would take a step back, okay? And let's look at the typical way. The moment you use a word outsourcing, what happens when you outsource? Typically, you create a very clear-cut brief that what do you want, okay? And that brief, repetitive brief or repetitive task or new task, and you outsource a task. I haven't heard a single time when you have outsourced the entire consumer experience, and that is what I am dwelling up again and again. What should be kept inside, okay? If it was, I mean, as in whether you take a partner and completely give it out to him and say that, dude, you need to kind of weave the entire business around the consumer, and then you make different these systems speak to each other, which is far and beyond to my mind. Coming back to your question about CDO and CIO, CDO as a role is a 5 years old role. CIO as a role has existed for years. Okay, half of the organizations, I mean, CDO as a role, if you go from organization A to organization B, it can be completely chalk and cheese. I mean, there's no standard definition to what a CDO will do. And third, historically, data has always remained the property of a vertical. It has never, I mean, historically, data is not owned by organization, but verticals. I mean, this is a consumer data, a consumer service owns it. This is a production data, a production organization owns it. Suddenly, you are getting a newer entity coming into the entire game and saying that I own everything. Is not going to happen so simply. Human change does not happen so easily. And that's the reason the change, to enforce that change, it is very important that you build those capabilities in house. I completely agree that capabilities do not exist. And that's exactly the reason of these broken examples. I mean, your example was even much better than my own example, whereas I have, there's a practical joke outside in the market that first my banker sends me a notification about my zero balance account going into negative or going into zero, and very next moment sends me another notification about an investment plan about how should I invest and build a wealth coming from the same bank. Okay, now are I mean, will anybody do that in their right mind frame? No. Are they not thinking? They are thinking, but nobody is thinking to the holistic consumer experience because of there is no capabilities are being drawn in out. You have got one partner, you have pulled that partner up saying that I need to automate this journey. You have pulled partner B up automating this journey. These two journeys have been automated. Nobody has looked back after that because of your, and as I said, and like you said, the Google example, and as I think Nikhil also agreed on to it, it's a journey. You have to iterate it every day probably. And if every day is more, every week, every month, you have to start looking at it and look at that what has changed between last month to this month. We living in a very, very VUCA world today. And in that VUCA world, it is important that you don't keep the same view of a consumer which has happened 10 days back. 10 days are good enough for a consumer behavior to change, the questions to change, the way they are going to ask the questions to change. And you need to be able to figure that out. How you do it, whether if you have a competent and such an ingrained partner, and I'm again and again using word partner, you have to have that ingrained partner who owns the consumer and the outcome of the consumer as you own. By all means, give it out.
And if I may ask both of you, what percentage of your internal processes have you outsourced?
Okay, so I would say a lot of executable or repetitive executable, whereas you can have a very, very tight control, whether they are a voice process, data process, and which have 100% audited trails, they are being outsourced. Okay, wherever there's a creative process which is involved, okay, those are kind of kept in house.
Okay, so what would be the ratio? Would it be 60, 40, 70, 30?
I would say it would be probably almost 70, 30. 70% in house, 30% outsourced.
Oh, that's amazing. And what about Nikhil?
Well, I can't answer this question on the current organization, but generally I've seen in my experience that, and only specifically talking about marketing automation, I have seen organization outsourcing more than 50% of the marketing piece. And again, like we said, I mean, it's so dependent on which industry, True. Which organization, etc. It just depends how much standardization is there, how mature the industry is, how mature the category or the segment is. So it will always vary. I think, like Ashish said, 30%, between 30 to as high as 50% plus.
That's amazing to note. And that obviously should be good news for outsourcing providers who are watching this session, that organizations are open, and just the two panelists are actually saying that it's in the range of 30 to 50%. If we ask a larger base, probably, hopefully the numbers increase. And on that note, I think it's been a fantastic discussion. Thank you, Ashish and Nikhil, for having taken out the time to join us this afternoon. And like they say, all's well that ends well.
Thank you, everyone, for all the important updates. This was the wrap-up for the day one of the ET Brand Equity Marktech Asia 2021. Hope you all have enjoyed the sessions and discussions. Thank you to all the speakers for the valuable content. Thanks to all the participants for being so enthusiastic. See you all tomorrow with more interesting content. Till then, take good care of yourselves and your loved ones. Stay safe.